Hi, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining the Rebuilding the Workforce 2020 Pulse Survey webinar. My name is Megan Bram, and I'm the Marketing Manager for Staff Management SMX and CMOS Insourcing Solutions, two brands under the TrueBlue family. Our webinar today is hosted by Brandon Barborca, Digital Marketing Coordinator, and Casey Nigbor, Content Marketing Manager at Staff Management and CMOS. In today's webinar, we'll cover how COVID-19 has changed our essential businesses. We'll talk about the long-term impact on businesses, how businesses are adapting, the impact on the workforce, and then we will dive into new solutions for these modern problems. And with that, I'll hand it over to Casey.
Thanks, Megan. All right, let's get started. This webinar is based on a recent survey we conducted. 262 companies responded to our survey. Of those responses, 164 were from the manufacturing sector, and 98 of them were from retail or distribution. We had a really good representation of the industry and how they're handling this new world of work. Our survey showed that 35% of businesses feel that they will never be the same, which I think just really illustrates how monumental COVID-19 has been in the world, and specifically the world of work. And while it seems a little dramatic, we're just really not sure how long the impact of this will be, or even when the current effects will end. And so with that, let's dive in.
So how has COVID-19 changed our essential businesses? A majority of our survey respondents are in sectors of manufacturing, retail, and fulfillment, so ceasing operations is nearly impossible. But these businesses are taking precautions to support and protect their workers. Masks, temperature checks, and social distancing are all options for protecting employees from the spread of COVID-19. Our survey respondents reported that 79% are requiring workers to wear protective masks. 63% are taking the temperatures of workers every day before they come into the building, and our survey also showed that manufacturers are less likely to do this compared to retailers. In terms of social distancing, our survey shows that most employers are spacing workers 6 to 9 feet apart to limit the spread of the virus. We know employers are performing temperature checks and requiring face masks, but Casey, what else are they doing to keep their workers safe?
Yeah, so keeping people safe is definitely going to be a high priority for businesses going forward. A separate survey found that employers expect 80% of their employees to return to the workplace in September. However, there are going to be a lot of changes in the work environment to keep people safe. And I think one of the big things is limiting person-to-person contact. That means limiting larger gatherings, reducing shift size, and physical separation in the workstations through plexiglass or other methods. They'll also be identifying positive cases. So that means temperature checks and contact tracing for any positive or suspected positive cases. They'll also be increasing hygiene protocol with increased cleaning and sanitation stations, hand washing, and hand sanitizer. And also a lot of companies are using PPE, so that's face masks and gloves, to keep their employees safe. Brandon, what did we find about the long-term impact on the economy so far?
So because the pandemic is still a part of our daily lives, no one knows 100% how this will affect businesses in the long run, but current statistics are pointing to a long road of recovery. Here's what we know so far. At the start of the year, unemployment was at a historic low, but as of last month, the unemployment rate sat 11.1%, and COVID-19 marked the biggest drop of the Dow Jones in history, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. Another stat from our survey showed that more than 76% of employers are worried about the impacts of COVID-19 on their business.
So when do businesses expect to recover? Our survey showed that businesses expect to feel the impact for more than a year, a few months, or a few weeks. And you can kind of see most businesses believe that it's going to take more than a year or a year, with the minority thinking that it's going to do a few months or a few weeks. Although it may take some time, we are seeing positive indications of recovery in some industries. In June, U.S. employers added a record 4.8 million workers to payrolls. However, industries like hospitality, entertainment, and other markets are still struggling to recover from the pandemic. Despite this, consumer confidence is starting to rise. The Consumer Comfort Index increased for the sixth straight week after plunging to its lowest level in May. And also our survey showed that a lot of businesses are using loans to help recover from the pandemic. 35% of respondents say they have benefited from pandemic relief. Brandon, how are businesses coping with such drastic changes?
Yeah, so as expected, and as you're probably experiencing firsthand, COVID-19 has caused many changes from the supply chain to employee morale. More than half of our respondents have stopped or limited production of certain items because of a decrease in consumer demand. As the virus hit, consumer demand and buying habits drastically changed, and people were stockpiling items that they needed. When COVID-19 first hit, it quickly changed supply chains. As I'm sure many of you saw, toilet paper, PPE items, cleaning products, and food were flying off the shelves. And as people were locked in their homes, they purchased more bikes, puzzles, cooking supplies, and ingredients more than ever before to help pass the time. In addition to supply chain changes, you're likely seeing changes in productivity levels. 26% of our respondents said that they have seen a decline in productivity. With sudden life changes and new worries brought on by COVID-19, it's no surprise that it could be affecting your employees' mental health and distracting them. Productivity is also impacted by the new safety protocols put in place. And to top it off, employers are facing capacity and fill rate challenges. Because of social distancing requirements and workers falling ill or taking care of someone who is ill, fill rates are dropping. 22% of those surveyed reported having some issues with capacity levels since COVID-19 started.
So what does the future hold? 69% of responses indicated that they are evaluating their business supply chain in the wake of COVID-19. So from that statistic, many operations are evaluating their supply chain and rethinking vendors and partnerships. And from that evaluation, operations are looking for more stability and trust in the future. They want assurances that companies won't fold. And with so many changes in the supply chain, the market is still adapting and recovering. And also, cost reduction was a big part of the pandemic, and many operations cut expenses, reduced headcount, furloughed workers, or had pay cuts in order to weather the storm. And in the future, we're going to see the impact of that as operations will have to adapt to the cost-cutting decisions they made as the economy recovers. And also, it may be difficult to get employees to return, and it's also difficult to predict when production will ramp back up. And our survey also showed that this pandemic put more emphasis on automation in the industry and reinvigorated conversation about incorporating them into operations. In our survey, a third of respondents feel that there will be more automation due to COVID-19. And this has been an ongoing conversation that has been reignited because automation helps keep employees safe and supply chains active. More automation means workers cannot be exposed, but production can be continued. However, with automation, more companies will need to adapt roles in order to create jobs. Brandon, how has the workforce been impacted?
Yeah, Casey. So based on our survey responses, we're expecting lasting impacts on the workforce. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the unemployment rate in June 2020 was 11.1%. And this tracks with our survey responses, which showed that 60% of respondents had to cut back on staffing through furloughs, layoffs, or reduced hours as part of cost-saving measures. And many business owners are still unsure when or if they can bring their staff back. In our survey, results show that 71% of business owners have seen a shift in employee morale, and 45% are experiencing attendance issues. This is likely because workers are coping with the stress of a pandemic and so much uncertainty is surrounding them. It's hard to maintain morale in the workplace. Uncertainty can be created for multiple reasons in the workplace. For one, employees are not sure what to expect with safety and exposure risks, and they're also not sure when things will bounce back to normal. Overall, our survey indicated that 53% of employers believe they handled the pandemic very well with their workforce. But employees likely have a different view. How companies handled layoffs, worker protections, and relations will have a lasting impact on businesses for years to come, because perception is a huge factor in the future. Companies who want to get ahead of the issues need to open lines of communication between their employees now and listen to their concerns.
With all of these issues plaguing employers, it is no surprise that contingent labor is entering the conversation as a strategy for bouncing back. According to our survey, 19% anticipate relying more on temporary workers to support their business after the pandemic. And 35% say they will utilize a staffing firm to help them with their hiring efforts in the next 3 months. A staffing firm can help reduce risk for employers, manage new safety policies and procedures, help with new hiring practices in a post-COVID world, like remote interviews, evaluate efficiency of your operation, and look for improvements. Because of the multitude of risks and setbacks that occurred during this recent pandemic, 37% of survey responses indicated that they feel a staffing firm can help them reduce their risk in the future. Other businesses are looking for other workforce models to better adapt to changing situations in the future. A popular option is an output-based labor solution that charges based on output and not headcount. According to our survey, 56% of people say they prefer to pay for labor based on output levels. And I think the pandemic made any supply chain or operations problems very apparent, and this is a good chance to make lasting improvements in your business. Because the pandemic has shown a light on the difficulties of running a business, maintaining staff, many operations are looking for new partners in contingent labor and output-based staffing. As a trusted staffing company, we have multiple solutions to help you address these concerns and build a strong future for your operation.
So what are some solutions to the problems we just discussed? Staff Management SMX is the leading light industrial staffing partner and Diamond winner, a clearly rated Best of Staffing Client Award. We're experts in on-site contingent workforce management for your manufacturing, fulfillment, and distribution facilities. Our strategically engineered on-site staffing solution is driven by actionable data to ensure your manufacturing, fulfillment, and distribution operations are as efficient and scalable as possible, whether you need 100 workers or over 1,000. In today's changing business environment, companies have an ongoing but variable need for production staff. The constant ramping up and down of a workforce requires a costly infrastructure for recruiting and hiring, which can become underutilized and an unnecessary expense. However, outsourcing to a staffing provider is not a strategy that fits all organizations' business objectives or corporate culture. Staff Management SMX now offers a hire-up program. This solution allows you to have our team administer your staffing program without breaking your employer-employee relationship.
If you're looking for an output-based model, Email Solutions can provide a workforce solution that delivers reduced costs, budget certainty, and increased productivity while meeting your quality standards. A big feature of our staffing model is that you manage your workforce based on output, not headcount. Instead of worrying how many people you need in your building, you manage staff based on the amount of packages that you need to ship, how many returns need to be processed, or other KPIs. Typically, our clients save 10 to 20% because of our output-based model. This model also offers complete accountability within your operation and increases output while meeting quality standards. With this strategy, your operation can reduce the number of steps in your production and increase efficiency quickly. Because of the pandemic, we've introduced some new solutions to help operations adapt. Our Shift Up program can help you if you're having trouble maintaining output because of social distancing measures. Shift Up is a workforce solution designed to create new shifts in your existing building or manage an existing shift to show our output-based model in action. The pandemic has also made returns processing more difficult for many operations. We are experts in returns processing, and it's the perfect operation for an output-based solution, and we can help you manage an influx of retail returns. For whatever difficulties your businesses face in the wake of the pandemic, we can offer you a solution that helps not only you bounce back now, but helps you avoid similar problems in the future.
Thanks, Casey and Brandon. Prior to the webinar, we had some questions submitted about what's next for the world of work. The first question is, what are some new hiring practices you're seeing right now?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take this one. So one of the big things that we're kind of noticing right now is that in-person interviews are not really frequently happening. It's a lot of virtual interviews, so that's over Skype, Zoom, FaceTime, or other video conferencing software. Unfortunately, it's not just as simple as just logging in. There are some regulations around recording interviews and kind of making sure that that's compliant with employment regulations. So a really good way to reduce the burden of all these kind of changes and new procedures in hiring is to find a good staffing partner. So CMOS and staff management can really help you hire effectively during the pandemic.
Great, thanks, Casey. The next question is, what do you predict peak season will look like?
Brandon, you can go ahead and take this one.
Sure. So we're expecting consumer buying habits to continue to change, as the year progresses. Mostly consumers shifting most of their shopping to online, which means that online retailers and fulfillment centers will have to rethink their strategies for dealing with the increased demand and these high consumer expectations, while of course keeping their workers and customers safe. A little plug here, but that's why having a right partner like staff management and CMOS is key to help you scale up quickly to meet those expectations and those demands.
Awesome, thanks, Brandon. The last question we have for today is, what do you recommend for helping to manage personal safety of employees during COVID?
I will take the last one. So I think it's really important that employees are reassured that employers are taking all the precautions necessary to really keep them safe. And I think that's more than just providing PPE. It's offering flexible work options where possible, ensuring higher levels of sanitation, and also just really opening the lines of communication between you and your employers or your employees. I think that really gives them the chance to feel heard and also to kind of address any problems in the workplace before it's really a big deal. So I think that's a really important part of not only ensuring safety but just kind of reassuring your employees.
Great. Well, thanks so much, Brandon and Casey, for answering those questions for us. If any of our listeners have any further questions, please feel free to submit them into the Q&A box, and we will go ahead and answer those for you as soon as possible via email. If you'd like to take a deeper dive into what we've covered today, the Rebuilding the Workforce ebook is available under the resources pane to the right of your screen. I'd like to thank everybody who attended our webinar today. And thanks again to our hosts, Brandon and Casey, for the in-depth survey analysis and taking the time to talk with us today.